Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 4 to 5. Eric Chilton here with Chad Silver and Lauren Coleman. It is Monday.
Monday. I wish it was still Sunday.
No, that's all.
I'm glad that the weather has turned around, rebounded a little bit from yesterday, though.
It will be almost like summer one day this week when we get to this. You won't believe it. Yeah, I was speaking with Hunter Funk, one of our reporters and anchors, and she goes, I have Thursday off. I said, and I'm going to the beach. I said, you have the perfect vacation.
Beach weather in February. I like it.
Tim was saying that it has the potential to be the warmest February day on record.
On record for us, and our records go
This
way
has
back.
been a pretty mild winter overall. And I'm not
Don't
mad
say
about it.
Because March can be mean to us,
Right.
so
Yeah.
we'll just see.
All right. That's a good tease, right? We'll get into him later in just a bit. But first, Greensboro police are trying to figure out who's responsible for 2 assaults and a murder that happened on Saturday. They occurred within 15 minutes of each other Saturday afternoon, one on Chapel Ridge Road, the other on Autumn Drive. The scenes are about 4 miles apart, and police aren't saying whether they're connected. We also don't know anything about a suspect in either case. Councilwoman Goldie Wells told us today the area needs more police presence and really more security cameras. GPD says it's a challenge since the department has 90 vacancies right now. If Autumn Drive sounds familiar, it might be because we reported on an 8-year-old girl shot there last month. Akira Hinton was sleeping in her bed when a stray bullet pierced her wall and hit her. She's in the hospital, but her father recently shared videos with us of her singing and dancing. He says she is making great strides in her recovery. At this point, no one's been arrested.
Happening in your community today, Greensboro's new police chief wants to hear what you want to see from the department. Chief John Thompson will hold a series of town halls beginning today. You can hear GPD's plan for the future and ask questions. Today's session starts at 6 at the Barber Park Event Center. The city swore in Thompson last month. He worked for the department for more than 2 decades before earning the top job.
The Parent-Teacher Student Association at Northern Guilford High School is hosting a town hall on Wednesday to draw attention to what it calls a fentanyl problem in high schools. It comes after the county health department reported a 200% increase in overdose deaths across the county over the last decade. Northern students recently took a survey on the topic. 88% say there's some severity of drug use in the school. The meeting is Wednesday at 6 p.m. at Northern. Anyone is invited.
To combat overdoses, U.S. health leaders want to make an overdose reversing drug more accessible to help save lives. A panel of the FDA experts voted to make Narcan available over the counter. The full agency will make a final decision soon. Locally, you can find naloxone or Narcan in some vending machines. The Forsyth County Detention Center has one near the front doors. Anyone can use it, no questions asked.
When it mattered most, 2 state troopers sprung into action and quickly saved a life. Trooper Kirby and Trooper Eberle found an elderly driver on the side of I-40 suffering from a medical emergency. We heard from the troopers today about how their actions made all the difference to 78-year-old Victor Pate.
Trooper Eberle right there, he advised that he apparently seen a pickup truck on the opposite side of the interstate near the 145, single vehicle collision against the median wall. I happened to be somewhat in the immediate area, so I arrived on scene first. And when I arrived on scene, noticed a elderly male apparently passed out behind the wheel. It appeared to be somewhat of a medical condition. I knocked on the window and tried my best to get him to wake up. He was not, so then I requested emergency services for as far as EMS and traffic.
Now, this all happened in Alamance County. The troopers gave CPR and used an AED until medical help arrived.
AEDs are a great tool. Like you said, they're just about everywhere. Now the Highway Patrol has one in every car. A lot of public safety vehicles are labeled first aid kit inside or AED inside. And as you said, they're kind of dummy proof. They tell you, a lot of the brands that are popularized and used today tell you exactly what to do.
I mean, we see this all the time now. You know, it's a thing. We went through our training here at the station, and we have an AED in the hallway there, so you got to know how to use it, and it's not difficult.
Yeah, I feel like within the last few weeks it's become more and more popular. We're here, well, more people are talking about it just due to recent events.
And I mean, could you imagine? So, you know, by the sounds of it, the one trooper was driving opposite of where this gentleman had crashed his car into a median, kind of saw it happen, whipped around, came back, and at that point another trooper was also there. And to just know that you're arriving on some sort of emergency, I can't imagine to be a first responder and just never knowing what you're going to come across.
And just being there at the right time, because imagine if they weren't there, the gentleman in the vehicle, not only could he have gotten hurt, somebody else could have gotten hurt as well. So just props to them for being there and knowing what to do.
And going on what you said, you go home that day and you tell your family, what'd you do at work today? Saved the guy's life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Got to be a rewarding feeling. All right, well, life changed for the Hool family nearly 2 years ago. Former Kernersville officer Sean Hool pulled someone over who grabbed his gun and shot him. His wounds took months to heal. Recovering mentally and emotionally was a much longer process. WFNY News 2's Daniel Cruz caught up with the former officer to learn more about his road towards hope and forgiveness.
February 21st, 2021, a day former Officer Sean Hool and his wife will never forget.
I went on that whole night working that shift, having no idea that at 3:30 in the morning, I was going to be laying in a cold parking lot on cold asphalt and between a dumpster and a 90 models Toyota Corolla fighting for my life.
Around 4 a.m., Hool was shot during a traffic stop in Kernersville, and as he was being rushed to the hospital, his wife's phone rang.
So I answered the phone, and it was Sean's chief. And so I immediately knew that this was not good. He let me know that Sean had been shot. His words were, he's okay right now, but he has been shot in the face.
Hool would spend days fighting for his life, waking up with his wife right by his hospital bed.
When I wake up and see her, and then that moment of like, God not high-fiving, okay, you lived, then the work started.
He couldn't talk, but I could just tell in his eyes the connection that we made, that it was still Sean. I didn't even need him to talk to me or anything. I could just tell that connection that we made with his eyes that he's going to be okay.
There isn't a day that passes that I don't realize how fortunate, blessed that I am to be living. Because from a medical standpoint, strictly medical standpoint, there really isn't any reason why I should.
Hool relied on his faith to get through months of rehabilitation and multiple surgeries. Last week, he gained some closure as the man who tried to take his life was sentenced to 40 years in prison.
But it's because of that God that I was able to look at Quentin today, look into his eyes, and genuinely tell him I've forgiven him.
Behind the courthouse in a little room, we had face-to-face contact, and he actually apologized, which was another thing that was big for me.
I was just super proud of how he handled that whole thing. He blessed a lot of people by saying what he said.
With this chapter finally closed, Hool has vowed to spend more time living life with his wife and 2 sons.
My story is certainly always going to be a message of hope, encouragement, and I'm going to take advantage of every second that I have to take a breath here on this earth. Absolutely.
After the incident, Hool retired from the Kernersville Police Department. Now he volunteers with the Billy Graham Rapid Response Team, helping others dealing with tragedies. He and his wife continue to walk by faith. The two now lead the youth group at Floyd Missionary Baptist Church in Eden.
We are so happy to hear that he is doing better. Hool says he replays the shooting every day in his head. He will continue to lean on his faith as he works to put that terrible day behind him.
Well, what everybody's going to be talking about over the next 4 days or so is just the fact that our temperatures are going up, and we mean way up. There's a chance some of the models show us going almost 30 degrees above normal one of the days this week. It's really amazing. 60 degrees in Greensboro, 62 in High Point. Our normal high this time of the year is in the mid-50s, so you can see we're above normal even today. 61 in Asheboro, 58 in Walnut Cove, and Mount Airy in the mid-50s. Lows tonight at 49, mostly cloudy. Do see a chance of an isolated shower. We're already seeing a little bit of that. It's going to be a little bit unsettled for a while because the front just kind of lingers near us for the next 48 hours or so. 69 degrees for tomorrow, scattered clouds and breezy. I mean, that's almost 70 degrees, which means in the southern Piedmont, we will see some low 70s for highs tomorrow for your Tuesday. Here's a look at some of the shower activity now. Wilkes County, most of it in the mountains, but it is moving east and south. So Yadkin County getting a little bit of that. Winston-Salem just now getting the rain. Greensboro see another wave move through here in a little bit. And you see all of this just kind of linger, right? You get a better picture when you look at the surface chart here. A kind of broken cold front, sort of falling apart, but it just hangs over us. Now we get that return flow from the south around that high that builds in out over the Atlantic to the south of us, and that continually pumps that heat in. Look at this 7-day, and you'll see what that high pressure does to us. Upper 60s, close to 70 for a Tuesday and Wednesday. That's a 20% chance of a shower. We'll take the rain out on Thursday. This could be the record day. 81, the forecasted high. That is way above our normal in the mid-50s. Even Friday, 66. Kind of a cold weekend coming up, especially Saturday, 46 with some rain, and Sunday, slight chance of rain and 64.
Looking forward to that Thursday. Well, there will be no 4 to 5 tomorrow or Wednesday because of a soccer match on our air. The news is scheduled to start on time at 5, but soccer could impact that. Again, that's tomorrow and Wednesday. We'll be right back. Taxes, they are due in less than 2 months. A lot of families have questions about what they will see after some major changes to this year's qualifications. We've worked to verify which changes you can expect.
As people file their taxes, the tax credits will look different from the past 2 years when some extras were tacked on. Because of this, we've gotten a lot of questions in our email asking about dependent tax credits. To verify, we went to President and Chief Tax Information Officer at Jackson Hewitt Mark Stieber, the American Rescue Plan, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the IRS. The first question, can you claim a non-relative dependent and receive a refund on your 2022 taxes without having income?
The answer for now is no. They changed the rule for 2021, made it a much more expansive credit, fully refundable. But after 2021, the rule expired and reverted back to the pre-pandemic amounts.
So we can verify that no, you cannot claim a non-relative dependent and receive a refund if you do not have income. The next question, I haven't worked this year. Can I still claim child tax credit?
And unfortunately, the now current child tax credit does have both, an income offset requirement to use most of the credit, and then even to get the balance back in the way of the additional refundable child tax credit portion, you still have to have some income.
For 2021, the American Rescue Plan increased key tax credits to help families offset expenses associated with the pandemic. It also allowed for families to claim the credit even if they did not have a minimum income. According to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, families must now earn at least $2,500 to get that credit.
You can be self-employed, but you do have to have some income and some tax responsibility, at a minimum some income, to get any portion of that amount refundable.
So we can verify that no, you cannot claim a child tax credit if you didn't report any income. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
I'm curious to see how the changes in the child tax credit are going to impact people when they get their tax returns back, because during the pandemic they sent out the money that they would typically send out at the end of the year on a monthly basis, and I think a lot of people, if they didn't realize that that was actually coming out of their refund just early, they're going to get the refund back and it's not going to be anywhere near that it had been.
And I think that's what we've been reporting over the last couple of weeks, is you can expect your refund to be a lot smaller this year compared to years past.
Yeah, a lot of people just thought, oh, well, yeah, I'll take that for every kid that I have. And then not knowing that you're going to be taxed on that. They were considering that income, is the way I understood it. So the bottom line for me is it's so complicated for us. My brother-in-law is a CPA. You ever looked at those tax books? They're like this thick and there's stacks of them. So I'm always like, I'd rather pay an accountant just because I don't know what I'm doing.
Taxes give me anxiety. So I go to H&R Block, just give them my papers, do it. You all know about my tax anxiety because I waited till the last week last year and did a story about it.
And 1 year I did my taxes, like 4 years ago. I absolutely hated it. I said, I need somebody to do it. So now I'm also CPA. Can't
Numbers
do it.
aren't our thing.
Right.
We'll be back. Well, if you've been, you know the beauty of the Paul J. Senior Botanical Gardens in Kernersville. They're awesome. It makes a perfect backdrop for new brides-to-be to pick out what they want for the big day. Adrienne Rothling with the Gardens told us a little bit about an event coming up soon.
What's great about the wedding fair is it's in downtown Kernersville, and we're bringing vendors from downtown Kernersville, and then of course throughout the Triad, right here into our ballroom. So not only will you be able to get a chance to talk to some members who are interested in helping you during your special day, but then you get to see our gardens when they're in their full glory. What's great is our gardens, we do this wedding fair in spring. So you're gonna see the gardens flourishing by then, especially with this weather coming up. But when you think about other places that do wedding fairs, they typically do them in the winter time. Well, our gardens just are not as lush during the winter months. So we're doing it in March so that you can, it is a shameless plug. We want you to enjoy the gardens too and possibly use us to have your event, but we want to showcase what happens in downtown Kernersville with all our local vendors.
So I also asked her about having the actual ceremony, your wedding at the gardens, and she says, of course, it's all about the beauty of nature.
In the spring, you're surrounded by tulips and daffodils. In the summer, it's the summer annuals and other flowers, the pollinators. And then in fall, of course, everything just takes on a wonderful look just with fall color. Why not have space for events such as weddings, wedding receptions, wedding ceremonies, all of it? You could be surrounded by beauty. And we want to showcase that for your next event here at the garden.
That is so beautiful.
It is beautiful, and this is a wedding show that they're going to do there, but of course, as she said, you can get married there as well. They're still looking for vendors, so if you're in that line of work and you need to get your name out there, they still have some booths, spaces open available.
I think this is so cool because I remember when we got the press release about this event in the newsroom, I said, that's such a cool concept, having a wedding show, because planning a wedding is a lot of work, and it's great to have a one-stop shop. And then also, you might get some ideas there that you might have not have considered before.
I guess the idea is you go there and you start picking things out, but then you start looking around going, oh, I can get married right here.
Yeah.
You know, like this will be perfect.
Years ago, you know, I would see stuff like this and say, you know, I really have no interest in it because I'm not like a big flower person. And then I went to the Biltmore Gardens.
Oh my gosh.
Gorgeous.
I was amazed at how much I was amazed by it.
Yeah.
It's just incredible to see just a vast display of just beautiful flowers.
It's an art form, absolutely, for sure. I know in the past we've taken the drone out there, right, and showed the tulips.
Yep,
Is that
tulips.
what it is?
Yeah.
And it just looks so beautiful, all the work that they've been planning all year long for them to bloom.
You need to check it out because you can walk and meander through, and it's not just like standing in one place and going, this is beautiful. You can go back into like a wooded area, and they've done it all landscape, beautiful.
And take some amazing selfies.
Yeah,
we
Instagram,
like a good
right?
selfie.
Look good. All right, we're coming back. Stay right there.
He made history in 2008, becoming the first black president. And today on U Day, Coach Lamont shares a quote from former President Obama on the importance of being the change we need today.
President Barack Obama once said, "Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek." You are the answer to the questions which are lingering in the world today. You are the solution created for such a time as this. And who you are and what you are carrying within you, it is so necessary. Now is not the time to sit back and wait for someone else to step up and do what you are fully capable of doing. I believe that the problems that exist in this world today are connected to people who are silent, carrying the answers they refuse to provide. Arise, my friend, and step into your place. You're needed. This is Coach Lamont. Make today your best U Day. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, we're watching these temperatures just slowly creep up every single day, it looks like. I mean, today, low 60s, then we're going to go to the upper 60s, close to 70 for a couple of days in a row, and then low 80s are possible on Thursday. That is, you know how unusual that is. We usually don't even see that till we get to June, that neck of the woods, sometimes in May. But yeah, it's almost like a skip past spring to summer for a day before it's back to reality by the weekend. All over the place. 60 degrees right now in Greensboro. You can see 62 in Winston-Salem and in High Point. To the north and west, we go 54 for Wilkesboro, and it's in the upper 40s for Galax. Tonight, upper 40s will be the overnight low for the Triad. Mostly cloudy. Stray shower, not out of the question. Already seeing a little bit of that across the area. Tomorrow, 69 degrees, and again, scattered clouds out there. Here's what it looks like from a rain standpoint. It is kind of hit or miss. That's the perfect look for the term scattered showers, isn't it? Same story tomorrow. Not a whole lot's changing with us. It's not until we get to a couple days away that things really start to change. So 20% chance of an isolated shower for Tuesday, Wednesday, highs in the upper 60s, and there's that 81 on Thursday. That could be, well, actually, it definitely will shatter. I think the previous record was in the mid 70s, so we'll beat that just for that day, but it may be the hottest day we've ever had in February in recorded history. By the weekend, back to reality, 46 and rainy on Saturday, 64 on Sunday.
Hey, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Eric, Chad, Lauren, and Tanya is right over there waiting to enlighten us with some information. Yes?
I gotta say, you're my favorite person today.
Why?
Because you told me it's gonna be super warm on Thursday. Gave me some good news.
Don't take the day off now. Leave me here.
See, and if you missed it the last half hour, he showed us an 81 high on Thursday.
On Thursday.
That's wild.
I don't know if I remember what 80s feel like.
I know, and that's months and months ahead of schedule, right? So this, as Tim had said, this could be the hottest day. If I believe, don't quote me, I believe it's 82. But if we were to hit that, which is a possibility, it'd be the hottest day in February in recorded history for us.
So we're going from boots to flip-flops
Pretty
in
much.
a matter of days.
And then back to the puffy coat by Saturday.
Oh, gosh.
Yep.
We'll get a check on that in just a minute. But first, President Biden made a surprise visit to Ukraine today. He's there to show support for the country following Russia's invasion nearly a year ago. During his visit, he announced $460 million in new support for Ukraine.
That announcement includes artillery ammunition for HIMARS and howitzers, more javelins, anti-armor systems, air surveillance radars to help protect Ukrainian people from aerial bombardments.
This Friday will mark 1 year since Putin ordered the invasion. Thanks to worldwide support, Ukraine is turning the tide in its fight for territory back from Russia.
On this President's Day, well-wishers are visiting the hometown of former President Jimmy Carter. The 98-year-old has entered hospice care at home after a series of hospital stays. Carter was born in Plains, Georgia, and it is where he's living out his final days. Jill Stuckey, the superintendent of the Jimmy Carter National Historical Park in Plains, is a close friend of the Carter family.
We honor President Carter and Mrs. Carter every single day. They have done so much for this town, for this state, for the country, and the world.
President Carter and his wife have been married for more than 75 years, making American history as the longest married presidential couple. We will continue to update you on his condition as we learn more.
Well, with President Carter in the news today on this President's Day, Carter is in fact our oldest living president at 89 years old. The youngest to be president by election was JFK at 43 years old. And the oldest person to be elected president is our current president, Joe Biden, at 78. He was the first president to turn 80 years old while in office. But it was the first man to hold the office that got President's Day started. Here's the history.
President's Day. It sounds like it's for all 46 men who have served, but really,
I cannot tell a lie.
the father of our country will tell you. It's all about him. George Washington celebrated his birthday February 22nd. After his death in 1799, his birthday became a day of remembrance. And in 1879, it became a federal holiday, joining Christmas, New Year's, 4th of July, and Thanksgiving as federal bank holidays. But a holiday wasn't enough. In the 60s, Congress proposed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, an attempt to create more three-day weekends for workers. Woo! So Congress lumped President Washington's February 22nd birthday and President Abraham Lincoln's February 12th birthdays together, thinking they would rename it President's Day. But really, the official name was never changed to President's Day, although that's how we all know it. On the federal government calendar, February 20th is listed as Washington's birthday. George Washington, #1 in our wallets, and the only president who can claim it's his day.
Very interesting.
And it's interesting because most state calendars just simply call it President's Day, but on the true federal calendar, it is Washington's birthday all these years later.
That's awesome. I'm sure a lot of folks at home did not know that.
I mean, even on my calendar that I have on my desk, it says President's Day.
Right, yeah.
And usually has pictures of multiple presidents with flags.
Right, and that is not the case. One more fun fact, William Henry Harrison and Ronald Reagan also born in February. Of course, the most month with presidential birthdays is October. There's 6.
Really?
6.
Wow. Interesting.
I know.
You know what else is interesting? I'm wearing this hat. What do you think?
Could be president.
You could. Chad for president.
That'd be a wild time, wouldn't it?
Chad for president.
Chilton, would you vote for me?
If you wear that hat, you got my vote, pal. I was out here talking to our producer. We have a little button we can push. I was like, look, Chad is wearing the hat. Perfect, perfect. That would be just for every debate. He'd wear that giant hat. 60 degrees right now in the Triad. We're looking at some low 70s though, coast section, depending on where you are. We head back to the mountains and it's cold again. There's Galax at 48. So we're right on the borderline right of that, and it looks like the cold front just kind of lingers around. We get a couple of showers. That'll be for today, I think tonight and tomorrow. Once we get to Thursday though, the rain goes away and the heat, and I mean heat, not just warmth, heat moves in because we are way above normal. Overnight lows tonight 49. That means that's your temperature tomorrow morning when most people are heading out. We'll go low 60s by midday with a high temperature at 69. In the southern Piedmont, we will see a 70, 72, somewhere around there, maybe around Montgomery County and Moore counties and Lee counties, that neck of the woods. We can see a little bit of rain. In fact, we have a couple of raindrops right now here in the weather guard. If we go out to the wider shot, there's still more of this back to the west that'll develop and move by. It is part of a cold front that's kind of losing its steam a little bit, but all of this lifts back north as a warm front once that high comes in off the coast, winds out of the south, and it keeps us very mild. Remember, our normal high is in the mid 50s, and we're looking at temperatures in the close to 70 for the next 2 days, and then we'll go up to 81 on Thursday. That's incredible. So 69 for Tuesday, Wednesday, little rain chance, clearing Thursday, 81. This weekend, though, rainy, cold Saturday with a high of 46.
Johnny Thomas was a standout player at Greensboro Day School and NC State. After stints coaching in middle school and JV, Thomas is in his first season as a high school head coach at Eastern Randolph. And what a difference he has made in his first year on the bench, helping the Wildcats to a conference title.
You know, getting out here, being able to teach them the right thing, it's a predominantly, you know, it's a football atmosphere. You know, everyone's a little iffy about the expectations and the accomplishments of what we could potentially do. My job was to bring a new dynamic to the team, you know, a new environment, new conditions, new expectations, new challenges, new goals. And those guys were able to exceed that above and beyond. That's what led us to our 20-2 record. So getting out here and being able to coach these guys that are really taking in and honing in and understanding what I'm trying to teach them, it means a lot.
It's very special for him having experience and coming in here and changing everything up and strengthening our weaknesses. And
because he teaches me a lot of things and I can use them and help make my game better.
I've learned a lot, not just in basketball, just how to carry yourself. He does it very professionally and different, and it changed a lot of kids' tone and attitude coming in.
A lot of people didn't know who I was, so when I first got here, it was the response of, oh, it's just another coach, you know, until we played our first game. You know, like, we may do okay, you know. Then we play our second game, it was like, okay, then third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Then we're 10-1, you know, like, okay, I believe now.
And listen to this stat. Eastern Randolph is now 24-2 heading into the postseason. Those 24 victories are the same amount the school had over the past 3 years combined. The Wildcats are the 3rd seed in the 1A West playoffs, and they host Cherryville tomorrow night at 7:30.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Wow.
But that goes to show what a good coach can do
Yep.
and how important it is that you pick the right coach for the team, because obviously he made the difference.
If you've never tried to coach basketball or even follow what coaches do, the plans are so intricate and you just think it's all pick and roll and whoever is open gets the ball. It's not like that. You got a good coach that knows what they're doing, knows what each player does well. That's how you succeed.
I also love when you know, standout athletes who in their day were big time playmakers come back and teach the younger generations and get involved in coaching and just pass along their knowledge and expertise.
It's beautiful to see, and the kids seem to really like him and enjoy him, and the fact that he worked with middle school too and other younger children, I'm sure goes into being a great high school coach as well.
Absolutely.
Right, well, it might be hard to tell, but gas prices have actually gone down. According to Gas Buddy's survey, the cheapest gas in Greensboro is priced at $2.87, while most expensive is priced at $3.89, about 65 cents higher than the city's average. We do have a quick note for you. There will be no 4 to 5 tomorrow or Wednesday. I know, but we will be back later in the week. But we have no show because of a soccer match on our air. The news is scheduled to start on time at 5, but soccer could impact that as well. Again, that's tomorrow and Wednesday. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
All right, I am talking about how to think when you're feeling anxious.
We've all been under stressful situations at some point in our lives. When you're feeling pressure or stress, it can be hard to think things through quickly and efficiently to solve the problem. This is what Blanca Cobb, who has a master's degree in psychology, and I are talking about today. So Blanca, let's get right to it. Why do we tend to get anxious under stress when we'd rather solve the problem?
There's a biological reason to this. So the amygdala is a part of your brain that helps regulate your emotions. And so when you feel threatened either physically or psychologically, then it kicks in and it activates and it releases these hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, that helps you prepare for that threat.
So if you're responding emotionally, how can you think through a critical situation?
This is where toughness really comes in. This is where you have to say, okay, acknowledge that you're feeling anxious, but the anxiousness isn't going to help you solve the problem. So then you have to think, okay, what steps do I need to take immediately to start getting some action? So you're going to be able to deal with that stress or that anxiety more effectively if you're able to take some steps forward. So let me give you an example. So earlier this morning, my Amazon account was hacked. It was locked down. My credit card was compromised. So I started feeling this angst because I'm thinking, okay, credit cards, where else could it have been used? And so then I start thinking, what is it that I have to do? So I have to call the credit card company. What bills are attached to this credit card? So just thinking those small steps and taking action, then you tend to forget about the immediate emotional response because you're moving forward, you're doing something about it.
So what about reaching out to someone when you're anxious? How can that help you?
When you reach out to somebody, it can help you think through the steps that you have to take. For example, you can say, hey, this situation came up. This is what I'm thinking about that I need to do. Is there something that I'm missing? Is there something I haven't thought about? Because what happens when you get emotional or you feel anxious, then sometimes you can forget some things that are really important. So another person can listen to your thought process and go, hey, I'm not sure about this, or have you thought about X, Y, or Z? And it just makes a whole complete picture. So that way you're taking the steps that are necessary to help you resolve that situation.
Some great advice there. Thank you so much, Blanca. You can continue the conversation with Blanca on her Facebook page, Blanca Cobb, Body Language Expert.
You know, it's kind of, sometimes I don't even like the word anxiety because I feel like it gives us this label and makes it bigger, that makes it a mountain, you know, instead of saying, anxiety is a part of life, whether it's this big or it's severe, there's going to be anxiety in your life, and learning how to manage it and handle yourself, I think, is the key. Don't just give it a label, know what it means to you and how to fix it.
Absolutely. I've talked to other mental health professionals in the past that say sometimes when they speak to patients or clients, they just say stress instead of the word anxiety or depression, because some people feel kind of weird about it. It's kind of taboo, even though we all deal with anxiety on different levels, but changing the terminology is helpful for some individuals.
Oh, maybe you two would agree, but I think that people in our field are especially used to dealing with stress or anxiety because, you know, the news is always changing and there's always deadlines. And so I feel equipped.
I think, especially in our industry, dealing with deadlines, we start to normalize the stress and anxiety. And I have a lot of friends in this industry where years later they said, I didn't realize I had anxiety.
Yes.
I didn't realize those chest pains that I had when I didn't make deadline was this. So I'm glad we're having more conversations to be like, that is not a normal feeling, and it's okay to seek help, or it's okay, it's normal.
It is normal.
Yeah, it's normal.
That's exactly right. All right, we'll take a break. We'll see you in just a few minutes.
A hard copy guide is making a comeback in this digital world. Paper maps. Sales of paper maps were up last year with more people traveling and experiencing the world in a new, old-fashioned way.
For retired Detective Miller Edwards, X marks the spot on a good old paper map.
Daytona Beach. That's where I want to go.
The 79-year-old uses GPS navigation in his travels too, But paper, he says, offers perspective.
They give me a general idea of a larger area that I need to go to see. They have different cities and different points of view.
A sales boost is putting paper back on the map. Market research from the NPD Group shows sales of maps and atlases reached 1.8 million units last year, up 20% over 2021. AAA says it produced 123% more maps in that time frame.
We are seeing obviously an uptick in travel across the board. So as we're sort of coming out of the COVID pandemic, people are really traveling more.
The Road Club has been in the map-making business for more than 100 years and made 5 million paper maps in 2022 to accompany its popular triptych route planners.
There's all this additional information, points of interest, locations where you can stop for electric vehicle charging perhaps, or AAA Diamond hotels, restaurants, things like that.
Truckers like Sean Gresham use a paper atlas to help solve practical problems out on the road.
This is going to show me every place that's low clearance.
Another upside to paper maps, they don't rely on cell signal, a particular advantage if you're traveling off the beaten path. And once you know how to read a map,
I'm folding it back up.
there's only one other skill you need. Jennifer Bisram, CBS News, New York.
So this got me thinking about the days of paper maps, and I asked people on Facebook, tell me your memories of those old paper maps. And Randall Carlisle says, paper map folded to fit in a clear plastic pocket stuck to a motorcycle tank, but you'd have to stop and turn the map over when you went over the fold there. Joanne said, I had a friend who was using a map to tell where to turn, and he told the driver to turn in about 1.5 inches. Sheila Myers-Williamson said, I remember going on family trips, and my mom made us read the map and then fold it back properly when it was over with. She still uses a paper map and says they're more reliable. And then Beverly says, when my son got his license at age 16, I gave him a map, taught him how to read it, and told him he can go anywhere as long as he had the map. I didn't know there would be GPS later on. So for us on trips, my dad would take the old Rand McNally map, which I remember, and he would, it was like a big book, and he'd open it up to the Carolinas when we were going to Myrtle or somewhere, and he would take a yellow highlighter and highlight the route. And then in the back, I was the one giving directions, lying on my stomach because no seatbelt laws. So I was lying back there going, take a left, Dad, at Highway 66, you know, and he'd be looking for it. So I was the navigator.
I have a very similar childhood growing up. And when I went to school in Florida, and I had a cell phone, but no GPS at the time. So I remember before the trip of driving to Florida with a friend, my dad and I spent one night highlighting every page of every state I was going through to make sure that I knew which way I was going, and then my co-pilot would navigate me and tell me where to turn. But I still have the map with a highlighted route to Florida in it.
You brought up something during the break.
Oh, I was saying, so I grew up in the era of GPS, but I remember when I was really young, my parents using MapQuest to get to different places. But I'm so glued to my GPS, which could actually be a bad thing because I'm not too familiar with my surroundings. So when I was learning how to drive back in high school, my dad would be like, you need to be able to get to these locations without your phone.
That's true.
Without your phone, because you're just looking down all the time. You got to be able to observe the surroundings. So that's how maps could be helpful. But
I still have the map book in the back of my car right now.
I need one. I need one. All right, let's talk about our forecast. We've got some big changes, big numbers for you too that everybody's been mentioning. I kind of wanted to come out of the gate with this because earlier I mentioned 82, correction. 81 was the warmest day on record ever in February, which is actually what we're calling for Thursday. And we've seen that in 2017, so it wasn't that long ago. But then before that, you have to go back to 1977 to see it, then February 25th, 1930. All three of those tied for first place. And then number 4 is 80 even in 2018. So we've been close lately, but this is actually coming up for us on Thursday. Here, you can see it on the 7-day for yourself. Upper 60s, close to 70 with a slight rain chance for Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll see that tonight, by the way, too. Just a very slight light shower or maybe some drizzle or mist. But 81, partly cloudy on Thursday. It'll definitely be the record high for that day. And then 66 Friday, and boy, is it back to reality. We're below normal Saturday, a rainy day with a high of only 46, and then a 30% chance Sunday, Monday, and highs bounce right back up to the mid-60s.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No idea.
No idea. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
There, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3.
Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Milk and an Oreo cookie, they forever go together.
Right now I'm at Barber Park Event Center where Greensboro.
Hey there, it's time for my 2 cents. Now, I've been waiting to do this one for a while, but a friend of mine who we ran across each other many occasions, usually professionally, Ed Weiss, passed away last October. And I went to a celebration of life recently. He was huge in the beach music community, and all of you know I had my band for 11 years, Eric and the Chill Tones. We were a part of the beach music family. We love it. When he passed away, this celebration of life was incredible. People came to this little bar in Burlington, filled the place up. There was dancing. People were performing. Jim Quick from Jim Quick and the Coastline Band was there. We had Craig Woolard from the Embers was there. Ken Knox was chairman of the board. Many others, too many to mention. And they were all honoring this man who made his life as a DJ, and in some cases radio management. I came across him in the 90s when he was in radio in the Triad, but when he was younger, he was in Raleigh and Charlotte at some pretty large radio stations and interviewed Motown famous stars like Stevie Wonder and the Temptations, Diana Ross, just to name a few. Ed went by the name of Charlie Brown, and his syndicated radio show still runs, even in reruns now, On the Beach with Charlie Brown. And it just made me realize how one person's effort, who wasn't a performer, but was someone who honored the performance, the performers, and also that genre of music, can make such a difference in so many people's lives. So I wanted to challenge all of you, no matter what you do in your career, make sure you make a mark in your industry, and then people will show up like they did for that celebration of life, which was huge, and remember what you did. And sometimes it's not what you do, it's how you make people feel, but for Ed, it was both. That's just my 2 cents, and that's the 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts now.
Right now, we're on the cusp of record-breaking warmth in the Triad.
It may not look or feel like it right now, but it is going to get hot this week. Our chief meteorologist, Tim Buckley, joins us live now in the Weather Garden. TB, we're talking about Thursday, and we're talking about 80.